running Michelin tyres, Ginetta Zytex both running Dunlop. Now Dunlop made a great advances in '09 with their tyre, no one can doubt that. Have Michelin moved on another step, doing a lot of testing with Straka? We would like to explore that, but also we'd like to improve the car, and looking at the regulations we think we can.
I think the engine package clearly in the HPD is pretty sensational as well. I mean, it's got great horsepower, it's got great fuel economy as well. It's a pretty awesome package.
Yeah, you look at it and you see the improvements. Obviously we look at the other car that's also I believe on Dunlop tyres, which is the RML car, and you know, that's improved since it changed from AER. So yeah, it's definitely pushing them forward.
Yeah, they've certainly had less problems under the bonnet, but they seem at the moment to be replaced by other problems in other areas. So
yeah, I was just talking to Ray Mallock well, just before the pit stop there, that Andy Wallace took over from Mike Newton, and the car's been running absolutely flawlessly. I think Tommy Odos hit a rabbit at some stage a little while ago. Thankfully, well, depending which way you look at it, the rabbit came off somewhat worse than the racing car. That's good news for the racing team, not so good news for the rabbit. They've also, other than that though, the car's been running pretty much flawlessly. They've been triple stinting the tyres on that RML car, and the only sort of a problem is towards the end of the third stint there'd be quite a bit of rubber pickup on the inside and outside edges of the tyre, and that creates quite a vibration. And at one point they had to come in a little bit early to change tyres because they weren't sure, they didn't want that vibration to get out of hand, and it was making things pretty tricky from the driving side of it as well. Also, they lost some time with that very first safety car period way early in the race as a result of the Nigel Mansell crash, and that cost them also about half a lap or so as well, because they were held at the end of the pit lane, and so that didn't work out. But other than that, the car's running absolutely beautifully, and they are delighted with the performance.
Well, just for those who were probably watching a rather tepid England-USA 1-1 draw and haven't caught up with things on the BBC's fleeting coverage of it, very quickly before we put you and it to bed, just final word on how Nigel was after his crash, because obviously there was an awful lot of focus on getting him out of the car and everything.
Yeah, we've heard that Nigel flew back to Jersey and he's at home watching TV, and if Nigel's listening, watching Eurosport, I hope you're okay, Nigel, and getting well soon.
Absolutely, and really hope that we see him again. I know the boys are back at Saint Malo ready to go on a crossing if they can get out of the pub. I'm sure obviously the overriding feeling there is okay, great that he's okay, but really the disappointment, the frustration, perhaps even more than disappointment, of coming here and being so keyed up and ready to go, and all of that anticipation and preparation just kind of evaporates, and I'm sure the desire must be, right, straight away, I want to come back and do this thing now.
Well, we'd really hope so, and I was really looking forward to seeing Greg in the P1 car, having driven with Greg and Nigel. I know how quick Greg can be. He doesn't know the circuit at all, and it's I think you can never really underestimate the challenge, and having three guys, none of them have driven around here in a prototype at all, and coming here with a new team, it was a huge ask, and it's a shame that, you know, I think they were probably let down by picking up something and having a rear puncture. Looks like the analysis of what's happened from looking at the data, that, you know, we're not absolutely certain about that.
We do seem to have had an awful lot of punctures this whole week, in actual fact, and that has been the handicap for the number 26 Highcroft Racing HPD. Marco Werner had 2 punctures earlier on in the evening. Franchitti had one about a bit over an hour ago, and the bad news, the even worse bad news for Marino, is he picked up the puncture going up towards the Dunlop curve, and had to therefore do a complete 8.5-mile lap.
Yeah, so
much reduced pace.
Yeah, 242 middle sector it looked like, and I saw that and I thought, I really hope that engine hasn't blown up.
I imagine you did, yeah.
So that and the other delays that it explains. That's why that car is now 3 laps down to the race leader, which is still Danny Watson, that Straka car, which is going absolutely magnificently. A couple other quick notes. We talked about the number 82 Luigi Competizione Ferrari being officially retired around about 1 o'clock in the morning. That is the ongoing gear selection difficulties that you had alluded to. They did fix it, but it was just sort of the problem was resurfacing again, and rather than risk having either damage to the engine, transmission and or crashing the car, they just decided, they were out of contention to win the race. There really wasn't much point in carrying on, so they parked that car. They didn't want to do anything worse to it. And the other guy, interesting guy I had a chat to was Xavier Masson, who's driving number 673 Luc Alphonde Corvette. And that in fact is indeed the same Corvette that just has a different colour scheme, which he races for the Mad Crop team in the FIA GT1 World Championship. And that car is running absolutely beautifully. The only delay for that number 73 car, and the only reason why it is second in class to that Celine, which I think has run pretty much flawlessly, but I think the gap now is down to maybe just over a lap, but certainly not much more than that between the number 50 Celine and the number 73 Corvette, was the fact that Patrice Gousselard about 3 or 4 hours ago had an off shortly after a restart from a safety car period. He just got caught out until cold tyres, damaged the front of the car fairly substantially, had to completely change the nose of the car, and that cost him about 20 minutes. So without that, if St Anne's and Butts, then they'd be leading the class, and they're still running though in second place.
Yeah, they're 2 laps behind, but they have done 2 pit stops less, so that shows that Celine has had a problem or so of its own as well. And as you say, it's very easy to get caught out on cold tyres behind a safety car, loop the car around on cold tyres out of the pits, or any number of different things you can do in the next dozen hours of racing that can undo a 2-lap lead, just as you're sitting there swearing at yourself for making the mistake.
That's right, because it's pretty cool out there this evening. We've had the conditions through the race so far have actually been pretty remarkably nice, haven't they?
Perfect.
Lawrence, but it is pretty cool out there, and if you're behind a safety car, these tyres do cool down, and when the tyres cool down, they lose their effectiveness in a very big way.
I think that's when you're delighted to have somebody like Tom Christensen in your car, and you know he's on top of his game. And just picking up on the point you made about the 13 laps, I understand that Tom's managing to do 13 laps in his car, and I don't know if we're putting that down to him not being a left foot braker. He's probably a little bit more economical in that car.
There are all sorts of different ways, aren't they, of driving very quickly and saving the car's thirst, and that is, yes, reputedly one of them around here. Left foot braking tends to be very good in sprint racing, but tends to be a little hard because you're trying to slow the car while also keeping the gas on, and that tends to be not the best way of keeping the fuel consumption down. Christensen has just stopped in 5th. Anthony Davidson just stopping now in 6th position behind him. The difference really between the two of them is that Anthony has spent already 5 minutes more after his delay in the pit lane than Tom Christensen did. Don't forget, Tom Christensen also lost time on the track, whereas Davidson came in at normal racing pace. So much longer time in the pits is what's dropped them down to, or his team down to, 6th position in the overall standings. And in P1, Christensen in 5th. Of course, that car going off when Tom was at the wheel as he tried to get around the outside of Andy Prio's slowing BMW Art car, which has since retired as well. So Peugeot, Audi, and then a recovering Audi and a recovering Peugeot. And I think it's pretty safe to say, Lawrence, that by daylight the order is unlikely to be exactly as it is now. However, it's very hard to see that man's team, Olivier Canel's Peugeot team, losing its stranglehold on the race, barring some kind of fairly major misfortune.
Well, we had 4 Peugeots at the front, and now we've got 2, but we still have 3 Audis sat behind them, and they're not what are they, one and 2 laps down, so the race is far from over. Picking up on the point about the pickup and the vibration, running 3 stints on the Michelins on the RML car, I think what you've got to be concerned about that is that with this race, any vibration in the car is very damaging to it, and it can vibrate the smallest part loose and cause you the race, as we had last year when we lost a fuel union, came loose just through vibration. So it's not always wise to run the 3rd stint and pick up the vibration on the car. You can vibrate any nut loose and cause issues. So and round here the straights are so fast that any small out of balance on your tyres, your eyeballs are bouncing around in the socket.
Well, so much of this race is really thrown into focus by the huge speed that you carry for so long here. You know, if you go to the Grand Prix at Silverstone, you might get approaching these speeds, you know, for a second or two at the end of the hangar straight. But here, you're at these sort of speeds, well, for, you know, dozens or sort of 20s, 30s of seconds. And that makes a huge amount of difference to the damage that you can do, either by just having a little imbalance or even something, you know, loose in the airstream. You can get ripped off here where you'd never notice it anywhere else. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be back with you live with more action from Le Mans in just a second. Welcome back live to Le Mans as we see the Orica team getting ready for driver change. That is Didier Andre ready to take over car number 6, which is currently being piloted by Sayel Ayari. If you remember last year, Hugues de Schoenack running a pair of his open prototypes, the Orica AIM, Orica chassis, a development of what was originally the same chassis as Oak Racing are running for, no, that's their P2 class, a development of the Pescarolo P1 chassis, for which Hugues de Schoenack bought the rights and then re-engineered it to call it an Orica with an AIM engine, which is a Judd engine with re-engineered cylinder heads by a Japanese company. So essentially it's a Pescarolo Judd, although it's called an Orica AIM. So I'll probably get told off for that. Sayel Ayari, Didier Andre and Andy Merritt are the trio. That has run reasonably reliably, currently in 10th position. While we talked about the leaders in the overall prototype class, P1 being Peugeot and Audi, and Lawrence Tomlinson, who's just left us from Ginetta, did make the point that although Peugeot are 1-2, there are 3 Audis behind them. In fact, then of course there is a third Peugeot in 6th position, but then there are more Audis as well. Let's not forget that there are the older Audis, the Coles run Audi R10s, and the best of those is in 9th place behind the 2 best placed petrol cars, which are still 007 and 009 with Adrian Fernandez and Juan Barazzi, who's just gone out in the other Gulf Lola Aston Martin. As onto pit road comes our 3rd place car, our best of the 5 Audis still in the race, and that is Romain Dumas. Takes a drink, throws it away. So he's staying in. It'll just be a fuel stop then. And in the cool of the night now, it's still clear. The lights are working well. The engine's working very well. And even though the air temperature is dropping, the heat in the tarmac is still relatively good. And certainly the heat in the tyres will be more than enough to allow them to lap now at probably close to the fastest they will all race long, as the air temperature drops but the ground temperature stays relatively stable, which is what happens in a clear sky like tonight. Then you get a temperature inversion. Cold layer of air comes down from the atmosphere and holds the air close to the ground, and in that air will be lots of moisture that has risen from the overnight rain last night. So as the morning progresses into the small hours, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, we may well see quite a lot of mist around the track, and that often hovers around the trees on the straight. Of course, you've also got the River Sart not too far away, after which the circuit is named, and that tends to produce its own little microclimate as well. So not unusual, even on a dry race, to see quite a lot of misty early morning, and so that's something that will blunt the pace of the drivers a little bit. Chris Parsons.
Oh, you're saying not unusual, it's absolutely usual.
That's what I'm saying, not unusual. That's just a more Tom Jones line.
It's
can't have a hit with "it's absolutely usual." It just doesn't work.
No, but no, the mist has always been a problem when you have a dry race here, unless it's very hot, which it certainly isn't this year.
No, it isn't, and it has rained, I think, every single day since we've come here, Jeremy. We came down on Monday. It has rained either every day or every night. More often overnight every night, but it has rained. I have to say, any fans that travel down on Friday, blinding, they've had a lovely time. If they got their tent up before it started sluicing on Friday night, it's been dry since, so they're not doing too badly. Getting messages in from the circuit, by the way, that car 009 is going slowly. That's Juan Barazzi in that second Golf Lola Aston, just saying that the 2 Lola Astons, 7th and 8th, and they're going all right. He has just left the pits. We saw him going relatively relatively safely up through the Dunlop S's, if not particularly quickly. But then first time out in the car for 3 hours or more, and in the dark, I wouldn't be going that hell for leather either into the Dunlop curve. However, maybe slightly more than just him being cautious. He's done a 155 second sector, where the time for the Adrian Fernandez car is 79 seconds, so he's a minute slower, and he's a minute slower in the third sector, like he was a minute and a half slower in the first sector. So just possible that he might be coming back in. I'm not sure. He's gone by. Well, in that case, that was an 8-minute outlap. He is going to need to pick up that pace, or he'll be called in very quickly indeed. Down pit road comes Tom Christensen. Our GT2 leader is also, no, that's the second car in GT2, the 63 Corvette that is rumbling out already. Golly. And then a real hurry-up offence on that 63 car to catch up from that gravel trap incident earlier that separated them from the class leader, their teammates, by a lap and 3/4. And Tom Christensen comes in this delayed number 7 Audi. And this now is a relentless task for these guys. I mean, you have to be relentlessly fast to win a race from the front. Now they've got to be relentlessly fast to try and win the race from 5th position, having been delayed when they were getting into contention. And now it's going back into the garage. Now, whether this will just involve changing a nose for better lights, different aero or something like that, or whether there's slightly more going on. Well, that was that done.
Yeah, it was a very strange movement, that, wasn't it? What was all that about? I don't know. I think it was a change of mind.
Yes. This is a very un-Audi style pit stop. Let's get it in. Let's not get it in. Let's get some tyres on. Let's not get some tyres on. Oh, while we're at it, have a drink.
And have they even finished refueling it yet?
I think they finished refueling it, but
yes, because they wouldn't have moved it back in before they had. However,
I think the decision had been, right, refuel it and let's take it in there because we want to fiddle with it.
That sounds like a slightly missed communication. Meanwhile, at the other end of the pit lane, Loic Duval in the number 4 Oreca Peugeot. Despite its very different colour scheme, it is exactly the same car as the number 2 and number 1 remaining factory Peugeots. The cars from the Team Peugeot Total, as opposed to Peugeot Sport Total lineup, which was the number 3 car, which has since gone down the Swanee.
Yeah, he's been pushing very hard, actually, Duval. I know when we watched him over the last sort of few laps, he's been going very quickly.
Yes. He wants to win the race.
Yeah.
Admittedly, the other Peugeot wants to win the race, but I slightly think that there's even more get up and go in that number 4 team, the Oreca team, perhaps even than the current race leaders, who lost out last year because of a late problem with the car and just, well, felt that the win was taken away from them. But that so often happens here, that a car that looks like it could have, should have, ends up not with the victory. And again, look, you can see the hazy kind of glow over the circuit at the moment. So we are starting to get a little bit of misting already creeping into the circuit.
We were saying actually earlier on that the period sort of around about 1 o'clock, that's when you get really quick times. And then as we come or creep up towards the dawn, that's when you get a little bit of mist. That's when the actual distinction between the curb and the track begins to fuzz a little bit, and that's when you can make a mistake, and the net result of that is you break the suspension.
Don't know what's happened to that Lola Aston, because Juan Baratz's times are getting better, but they're nowhere like what they should be.
No, the first lap he did a 78-second first sector. He's now got down to a 48-second first sector. But Adrian Fernandez, admittedly a quicker driver and admittedly not just into the car, still 14 seconds quicker on the first sector, which goes from the start line to, I believe, between Tertre Rouge and the first chicane. So it's quite a long first sector, 34 seconds. That gets you all the way through the S's and out onto Tertre Rouge at least. So, yeah, he's going away a lot of time still. He will need to get himself up to pace.
We were curious to see if he'd got all the gears that he'd started out with.
Well, he's probably got all the ones that the car came in with, unless he's mangled it on the way out, and I wouldn't want to warrant that accusation at him. Second in GT1 in pit lane. There's the 73 Corvette Alphonse Aventure is the team. Julien Jousse is the driver. He was in last time, so fuel only. And Jeremy Shaw sitting next to me with your pad. Maybe we'll just interestingly see whether he's going to triple stint those tyres. That 73 car on Michelin rubber, is that? No, Dunlop rubber on that car. And the class leader in GT1, the Celine, which for some reason I don't seem to be on. It is on Michelin tyres, the Celine. Now then, Danny Watts has finally been persuaded, stroke cajoled, stroke begged to get out of the car, because it does seem he's been in quite a long time in that LMP2 leading car. The Acura HPD is swapping drivers, so that car coming in at the head of the LMP2 field, Nick Leventis, Danny Watts and Johnny Kane, the three drivers. And I slightly imagine that perhaps they might park Nick Leventis overnight and allow the quick young guys that he's hired to join the team to get out and do what it is that they've been hired to do, which is drive the wheels off the thing and try and win their class. And at the moment, they seem to be having just a better rub of luck than their direct rivals, the Highcroft team in the other HPD chassis, because the Highcroft team are now 3 laps behind after a number of delays. And whatever seems to have happened to Strachan, they have had incidents. They've been off and they've been held up by safety cars. Again, it's all back down to lady luck. You can't win this race without luck. You can't win it without a good car, good team, good drivers and good preparation. But if you don't have luck on the team, it's not coming your way. So he heads back out onto track.
Is it still Davidson at the wheel of number 1?
It is indeed.
Because he's suddenly decided that he wants to go a little bit.
I don't think he's suddenly decided at all, but he has got a particularly free lap, a 3 minutes 21.9. Now the fastest we've seen from him recently is 3:21.6, but that is very quick race pace indeed. So Anthony Davidson, light on Christensen, desperate to make up for that mistake, because don't forget, for that delay, don't forget when the number 1 car was dragged back into the garage losing charge, it was our race leader, and it was pulling away quickly from its Peugeot rivals behind it. So they feel that this race owes them something special. Now, after losing the Art car, more heartache for the Schnitzer mechanics. It's been a very long 6 months to get the car here. One of 3 parallel programs they're running, a whole host of cars they've built. They're not using the same car and just changing bits. They're all different cars. And after the 79 car has retired with as yet, or at least 2 hours ago when I asked, as yet undiagnosed problems because the car hadn't come back, now looks like they've got a loose left front or a problem with the left front brakes on car number 78, which is a shame because actually that had been going relatively quickly and was 7th in the GT2 class and starting to try and move up the order a little. Andre Lotter on pit road, Audi number 8. And a very quick first sector for him, fastest of that car's entire race. One of the quickest laps it's turned, a 3:32 in lap. That's pretty quick. He was very quick in the first sector, quickest of all within 2/10 of that car's quickest lap in the second sector, and then came into the pits. So obviously light fuel, guys, but still you've got to use it. You can give me an Audi with 1 tank worth of fuel and I won't be doing 320 anythings.
No, these guys are very quick indeed.
Well, Lotter back out and matching the team's pace in the pit stop with his acceleration out of the pit lane, because there were 2 cars coming up fast behind them. They can't even identify them, can't even spot them in that shot. So one of them was a prototype, so I'm not sure it was a P1 or a P2 car, but Lotter certainly left it for dead, squirting out of the pit lane. Now coming towards us, looks like our GT2 leader, yeah. fact, that's just a gamble, isn't it? There's one of two Corvettes. Could be Manu Collard, the leader, or Antonio Garcia in second place. The one light on the side tells me that I gambled correctly. It is our GT2 class leader. And we're used to seeing Corvette running reliably, fast, strong, without too many dramas at the front of the field. In the GT1 class, they were beaten a couple of years by Aston Martin, but they have been very much the team that set the benchmark to which others aspired, including Aston Martin in GT1. And so they now seem to be in benchmark position in GT2. They had a really good battle with the Risi Competizione Ferrari early on. They've been battling with the Porsches as well, but seem to have left them behind. And now it is really whether or not the Corvettes can get to the end, 1 and 2, or whether fate will intervene. There is a brake problem. They've got the brake caliper separators in the front of the car. It's only front left, which slightly worries me. If I was having one set of brake pads changed on a road car, I'd want both sets changed. So they're obviously still working with a pedal pressure problem on this car.
Well, they seem to be screwing it back together, so they obviously think they know what's up with it.
I'm sure they think they do know what's up with it, but the mechanic inside looked to me a little bit as though they might have been down in the footbox or maybe adjusting something on the brake balance bar. So clearly the driver of that Porsche, Augusto Farfus, not really happy with the way it was stopping, or very probably wasn't. Car number 12 on pit road, again with the scars of battle on the number 12 car. The Rebellion has got tank tape holding bits on. It's had its fair share of in and outs of the pits. And coming in now, which of the Ginettas are we expecting? Was that the Kiefel pit? This is Giancarlo Fisichello's first pit stop for Ferrari. There's a sentence you don't get to say very often, is it? And this is not going to be a 4-second tyre change, is it? This is a very much slower progress here. They seem to have a second airgun man over the line there. They need to be very careful about that. Oh, and into the garage goes Ugo Schonag's number 6 car. Didier Andre only took it over about 3 laps ago. It's back in, sneaked in under the radar, pushed straight back in as Fisichella is down and gone. There he goes, up the hill, round the corner. Can he do it? Yes, he can. 008 is in for service as well. Busy time in the pit lane. So we'll take a quick commercial break and let you all get your breath. We'll be back with more from Le Mans in just a second. Wake up! Stop! Don't go to sleep yet. You can't. It's still 12 hours and 16 minutes to go at Le Mans. We have got a lot more racing to get through before you're allowed to go to bed. I don't care if you want to slumber on the sofa. Just man up a bit and stay with us. Live coverage continues on Eurosport. Martin Haven, Chris Parsons, Neville Hay watching the action. And we seem to be in one of those periodic pit lane flurries where every man and his dog is coming in with problems. Rapid disassembly of almost the entire front end of Gary Challenden's number 41 Ginetta Zytek in the LMP2 class, and the corporate guests have clearly quaffed enough champagne. Is there such a thing as enough champagne?
No, can't be. Actually, I don't like champagne, it gives me a headache, so it's really, I'm the wrong person to ask about that. No, this I thought was a brake problem, but I'm not so sure now.
I think they're not so sure now either. They're putting an entire new nose on. Yep. So, well, we did see it nosed off into the barriers, didn't we? I think this is one of those things where the job list reached critical mass. He came in and they kidnapped him, stuck him in the garage and said, right, we're now going to change all the things that everyone has broken in the last 6 hours. And that may well be exactly what's going on with the Didier Andre car as well.
2,000 mile service.
That's a good example of why you put the car in the garage, because you can get any number of mechanics working on it.
And you don't get Nick Damon from Radio Le Mans in the way there yet. Thanks, Nick. We're going a different way on that. Car number 60. Oh, yes, it is car number 60. This is the remaining Maytech competition Ford. Thomas Much, Roman Grosjean and Jonathan Hershey lying third in GT1 despite their delays. Roman Grosjean, of course, crashed this car early in practice and did a lot of damage in free practice, but it didn't affect them too much in qualifying. And actually has been running very quickly. One major delay, and unfortunately that has dropped them what did we say it was? Oh, I'm losing track of GT2 now. Leaders on 161 laps. They're on 152. Do the sums yourself. I make it 9 laps. Could be anything between 0 and 20, frankly, but they're 9 laps behind. But still, it seems that they are running very quickly, and enough to keep them in front of Jerome Policon, who's 3 laps behind them in the second Alpond Aventure Corvette. The Aston Martin, the junior driver's Aston Martin, a further lap back, is in 5th place in GT1 with now the young driver in it, Christopher Nygaard. And the remaining GT1 car, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th in class and still going and still on pace to the timing screen, so visible is, well, not still going actually, is the Lamborghini, the Japanese Lamborghini Owners Club, the J-Lock Lamborghini, Murcielago at Sushi Yogo. I'm guessing no longer still at the wheel because it must have been stationed in the pits for well over an hour, and I'm assuming that at some stage the Japanese will get round to announcing that it is retired. It certainly ain't going round very much.
We got the Straka car completely wrong, because in fact it is Nick Leventis who's got into the car at this time of night. We thought he'd stay out, but no, Nick has taken the car over.
Well, in fairness, we didn't think that was just me suggesting it. So he's obviously intent on doing his fair share.
Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, first sector time 39.2. That's 3 seconds off Pierre Rag in the 008 Aston. So that's not too bad. And he will, I'm sure, take a lap or two really to get his head around full night here at Le Mans and the speed and the other cars and everything else. Meanwhile, at the 15, yes, is the Collis Audi. It took me a while to recognise if it was an R10. Actually, it is an R10 Audi.
Yeah, he's having a 1,000-mile service, isn't he?
Well, we saw this so often with Audi, didn't we? Okay, we need a bit of a change of downforce because we're now getting a little bit quicker because it's cooler. Right, stick the extra downforce bit more one nose on. Which downforce nose you want? We want downforce nose 3, please. Thank you very much. And it's quicker than fiddling around trying to go, oh, are you going 2 clicks up on your wing? Yes, me too. So, halfway through the race, barring 11 minutes, we've got 12 hours and 11, just under 12 hours and 12 minutes to go. So, the race is still very much in its infancy, Nev, and
yes, it's curious, isn't it?
Tend to get a little hiatus here now, where not an awful lot of very noticeable things happen until it starts to become daylight, and then suddenly everybody gets their second win.
5 o'clock in the morning is when it all starts to happen.
As soon as the sun comes up, they crash and bits fall off and all sorts of nonsense.
It's quite curious, isn't it? You know, long 24-hour race, off they go. 2-3 hours, you lose some cars. Then it slows down. You have lots of little things going wrong, you know, sort of, oh, nose can't go, oh, tire goes, all this sort of thing. Get to halfway, and usually, as you say, it's quite quiet. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, then suddenly, about 5 or 6 o'clock, it all starts to happen.
Yep. And there's no logical reason why it should do, but every year it's exactly the same.
Body clocks.
Is it that? Because I'm not a morning person, I have to honestly admit, I'm a night person. I hate getting up early in the morning.
Well, one of the things that happens, obviously, is as the visibility starts to rise a little, but the temperature is still relatively low, drivers can push even faster than they can, perhaps, you know, in the darkest part of the night. Plus, also, you then get the fatigue enhanced by a bit of extra sunlight. That seems to do something. It gives you the sleepy eyes and just a little bit more sloth. And then, of course, you know, the cars by that stage have been going for 17, 18 hours, and so bits that hadn't fallen off in 17 or 18 minutes are looking considerably more prone to fall off.
Oh, that's certainly true.
Is it me, or has that car now done a complete stint between...
Oh, don't say things like that. We quite like them.
No, yes, of course. Oh, dear.
There you go.
Darren, you've just opened your mouth again, and more trouble.
There's the second place car, also going into the garage.
Dollying as Loic Duval is whisked back into the garage. And
what did you just say, Neville?
Well, there you go. I think if you chaps are listening, you know, sort of Demon Barber and all the rest of it, it's not dull here. You are missing something. You should have come.
Quick message to mechanic and PR guys, generally speaking, you'll find it wasn't the TV crews that broke your car. It's not the TV cars that designed the other people's cars, so there's nothing much we can do by showing your car being fixed that will either help you fix it or help your rivals take advantage of it. It's broken, get on with it.
Well,
Let us see what you're doing, or don't come at all.
I maintain it's commentator's curse. It's this one, this Chris here, who's doing it.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid Mr. Parsnip has done for Paul Lord Drayson, so I shall tell him that.
Well, and
Bango's your OBE.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh well, never mind. I won't get a French one either. I killed off.
Oh yes, well you might have got
the Orica car as well.
Now number 2. So lead pair of cars are on pit road. Luckily that one's not been shuffled back into the garage. That would have been far too much synchronicity for any sane what's the word I'm looking for? Conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The team here having we put the curse on all of them.
Right, don't talk at all about anyone we like. Oh dear, that narrows it right down. It means I can't mention Tom Coronel or Peter Dunbreck or the Spiker team. This is Tom Coronel, World Touring Car driver, VLN driver. I'll turn Nev's mic off while Jeremy whispers sotto voce to him. And the Spiker in for regular service. It's been a bit of a troublesome little piggy, I'm afraid, again this year, the Spiker. But they seem to have ironed out a few of its wrinkles and threatened it with a big enough cudgel that it is not intent on coming into the pits all the time. It is, however, and I probably won't be thanked for mentioning this, last in the field in 41st place.
Jeremy was saying to me that he thought number 4 Peugeot had been in before about 4 or 5 laps ago. And I thought that, and you know, we were looking at a car that was going out and you thought it was going very slowly, and we, both of us sort of said, oh yeah, well I think it is probably the, I decided it must be the lower because you said so. I'm not so sure that it wasn't number 4 Peugeot.
It wasn't number 4 Peugeot going slowly, but it has been in recently. This is its 16th pit stop compared to 15 for the race leader and for the car behind it, Romain Dumas. So this is an out-of-sequence pit stop, but it's only its first out-of-sequence pit stop because it did not have a stop in hand over Sarrazin. So this is its first major drama.
Yes, but Martin, you don't put the whole engine cover over the pit door.
Yes, you do, because that's the way they do things. Because apparently, major manufacturers expect to come here, and no matter how badly they treat the media, then be feted afterwards for managing to complete a race.
Can't tell me.
They don't want us to see. They don't want us to see what they're doing.
Seeing it now.
Well, you know what they don't want? They don't want Audi to find out what they've done to the nose of the car, which is the only thing we can see. There is actually a rule which says that all cars must be visible from the pit lane.
Martin.
So that the ACO can see that they're not doing something nasty in the cheating department. I'm going to get rid of one of you codgers immediately, because a very fine-looking young woman.
I knew that's what you were going to say, and I was going to volunteer straight away.
Collapse of a number of stout parties and said good-looking young lady.
Yeah.
Well, come on in, Fiona Miller, and say hello to us. Fiona, for those of you who have not been regular Radio Le Mans listeners, and shame on you if you haven't, helped me out a very great deal in my formative years of Radio Le Mans by listening and then being communicative. And I think that she ought to perhaps run PR courses for a very large number of the teams at the moment.
Absolutely true.
Fiona, hello. Very disappointed to see you here, I'm afraid.
Yes, I know. It's I'd actually much rather be down in the pits, sort of being terribly busy with 2 cars, and instead I'm half as busy with only 1.
I have a task for you. Go down to the pits and kick a few PR people and recalcitrant mechanics in the shins down at the Peugeot end, because they're not covering themselves in friends.
No, they've. It's certainly been a bit of a race, hasn't it, up at the front as well as down the back. I mean, there were some classic battles up at the front at the beginning, and I think the GT class really gave everybody a wonderful spectacle for the first quarter. It's a shame it slipped away a bit, and our gear selection problems probably helped that enormously.
Yes, enormously. Just to clarify to those of you that aren't members of the media, i.e. everyone who's listening, Fiona is the press attaché, officer, girl, genius, guru for Risi Competizione.
Too kind.
So she's been looking after not only the car that was our LMP2 class, GT2 class leader, red one, the number I can't remember
82.
now. 82, that's right. That was giving us such great entertainment earlier on with the Corvette at the lead of the GT2 class, but also looking after the 83 car, which is the Krone Racing green version, isn't it?
That's correct, yes. Both Jimmy Bruni, well, in fact, all three of our drivers, Bruni, Jamie Mello and Pierre Capper, had some terrific scraps with the Corvette drivers, and it was one of those sort of really firm but fair fights. And you know, I'm sure the Corvette drivers will all agree that it was the sort of fight that you really wish you could have in every race.
Absolutely.
It just made the whole thing come alive.
Very much kind of Master Raceway Laguna Seca ding ding gloves on round 2, because it looked exactly like that one.
Yeah, it really was. It was kind of like the sprint races that we have in the States, where you have sort of like a 2-hour 45 all out from flag to flag sort of fight together, and it was like that, and there was no reason why it couldn't have gone being like that, and we just unfortunately had this problem which we've never had before, and it's just sort of put an early halt to our attack on that.
And that's a real pain, because I have absolutely no doubt the drivers of both cars, your car and the Corvette, would have got out after their seats going, God, that was fun.
They did.
God, that was the best racing I've had here in years. Because you go racing to race close and wheel to wheel with each other. And we were watching them for a time. Our director was really enjoying it, clearly, because we were watching pass after pass after chicane after chicane. They were swapping the lead, corner after corner they were swapping the lead, and that's what every team wants, to be in that kind of a battle.
That's right. I think, you know, nose to tail racing and passing is what everybody loves to see, and not knowing what's going to happen from one lap to the next. And I think that makes it hugely enjoyable as a team member, but also quite obviously hugely enjoyable as a spectator.
Well, listen, Reece, you got this hugely enviable record in endurance racing. I mean, particularly in the long distance racing, but also in the sprint races and American Le Mans series. It's a really strong team, really strong engineering, and they've got, you know, great kit with the Ferrari, but great driver talent as well. I mean, every box that you want on your wish list has been ticked, and that's the secret, really, isn't it? There is no secret. It's an open secret. You buy the best of everything, and you work the hardest with what you've got.
Yes, I mean, I think as I'm sure every successful team up and down the pit lane would say, the secret is the package, and it's having everything that all comes together at the right time. So then you have, you know, a proven race car that you know is going to be reliable and strong, that doesn't have problems that recur again and again. You have a very strong tyre package, which we have with Michelin. You have an excellent driver lineup, and I mean, I think ours is really one of the best that there is in GT racing. And you've just sort of put it all together, and the other secret, of course, is having a team that knows how to prepare for these races. And Giuseppe Reece is a firm believer that preparation is everything, and that's really, I think, which up until now has given us this amazing run of 6 races in the go.
Well, sooner or later, you know, every run has to come to an end, and sooner or later, no matter how good your preparation, as everybody knows, Le Mans turns around and kicks you in the teeth, and then it was the best way to be introduced to this. Welcome back to Le Mans, where I hope you are now hearing us. I gather that for a while our interesting and informative commentary was rather wasted on you, since you weren't hearing a word of it. However, let's just very quickly, before we get back to our guest Fiona from the Race Competizione team, let's just very quickly catch up with the car that is no longer second but is now fourth, as it's being reassembled from its component parts which have been used to block our view of it. Something happened to that Peugeot, and interestingly enough, we've got no idea what it was. Anthony Davidson remains at the wheel of the car that he brought in and was whisked in from second place into the garage. As I said, it is now down to fourth place. So Audi, from having been whipped out of sight in the first hour of the race, are now lying second and third. The wheels are coming off the Peugeot wagon relatively quickly. Anthony Davidson is in fourth place, Tom Christensen in fifth place. Loic Duval has now slipped to sixth place. As Anthony Davidson comes onto pit road, he is now the second best placed Peugeot.
It wasn't Anthony Davidson who had the big delay. It was in fact Loic Duval had the big delay.
However, when he came out of the garage, he was shown as fourth until two cars shot across the line while he was sitting there, so he's now gone down to sixth. He is, however, on the same lap as... No, he's not. He's gone a lap behind Davidson and Christensen, so their recovery continues. And Davidson, who was leading when he had an electrical problem, is now up to fourth. Tom Christensen is now up to fifth. Loic Duval drops from second to sixth, rather. And that leaves Stefan Sarazan as Whisper It Now with 11 hours and 56 minutes remaining. The only untroubled Peugeot. So the cast iron 1, 2, 3, 4 result that looked all but a certainty in the opening hour, Fiona Miller from Race Competizione, looks a little less like even a remote possibility. It looked as though they were going to wipe the floor with Audi. Now it's starting to look furrowed brows, clinging on. I wonder if we've got a chance of still winning this.
I think that's one of the beauties of the 24-hour race. You don't know, and what seems apparent in the first quarter can change at half distance and change again 3/4 of the way through the race. You never know. And also that as a team, you never give up, because you don't know what's going to happen to your competitors, and you can make up an enormous amount of ground over a period of 24 hours.
They look to have so much in hand over everybody else, and even today was sort of a lap in 3:19, and nobody else really was able to get down under about 3:23, 3:24, and then suddenly it all starts to unravel a little bit, and I still can't quite work out why.
Well, they can't quite work out why, and the real problem for them is it's not the same problem.
I think the reason it's not working out is they haven't got Fiona.
I think the reason is they're not being nice enough to us. Little Ferrari battle. Pay attention, Fiona. That's one of yours.
I am, yes.
That's the who's in the Crane racing car at the moment?
Eric van der Poel.
Oh, is it Eric van der Poel?
That was the Hankook Ferrari.
Yes, it was.
Going past
and who is in that? That's getting quite nice, actually. That is Dominic Farnbacher again, and he is fifth position in the GT2 class, and actually he's the lead Ferrari. So unfortunately, he's got Giancarlo Fisichella behind him in sixth place. They're on the same lap as each other, but a couple of Porsches and those two Corvettes in front. And Hugues de Schoenack explaining to someone what ain't us what is going on with the number 4 car. I have to say I'm very disappointed that I really secretly quite fancied Hugues de Schoenack's car for winning the race and taking glory for Peugeot. And of course his operation, although he's himself and the original Orica operation from Signes, they're also based here at the Techno Park at Le Mans as well, so that would have been for the Le Mans fans second best thing to a Sebastian Bourdais win, I would think. And of course, Hugues de Schoenack, famously almost as nice as Fiona as well. So he is one of sports car racing's genuinely really nice guys, isn't he? He won in 1991 with Mazda, and he's been coming back on a fairly regular basis, particularly in the last few years, to try and do the same thing again. And actually, he had a really strong shot going there for a while.
I think this is one of the reasons why we all love sports car racing so much. There are some fantastic characters involved, and it's got a very warm and friendly atmosphere in the paddocks, and yet as soon as you get on the track it's intensely sort of it's an intensely fierce battle, and I think that satisfies everybody, really.
I think so. Actually, it's that exact sentiment was echoed by the president of the ACO at the welcoming meeting for the teams this week. The little cocktail reception they had, he said, you know, I hope that you're all going to be very fierce rivals on the track and very good friends in the paddock. And actually, that's a pretty good summation of what it is. For me, still the best description ever of Le Mans is it's a week-long holiday with friends, and at the race, at the end, they hold a motor race. And you know, if you can find a better quick encapsulation of Le Mans, then I'm all for hearing it, because that still to me is why I come. It is a holiday with friends who think exactly the same things and love exactly the same things, and at the end they just happen to hold the greatest race there is as well. So double bubble there, really.
If you can find a team member who will think of this week as being a week-long holiday, then I wish you luck. Our guys have worked 123 hours so far this week.
Yes.
And that is without any sort of major issues, really. It's a very, very long, hard week.
Oh, it is. No, absolutely right. But they wouldn't trade it for all the tea in China.
No.
They would right now. But give them a week's clearance when they've forgotten all the pain and the fatigue. Absolutely right. And actually, we were talking earlier to Ryle Frey, whose Ford retired early, and saying, okay, right, you've come in from single-seater racing. You probably never expected to race in sports cars. You've done a couple of GT races. You're here at Le Mans. You've not even got to drive the car in the race. So you're going to turn your back and walk away. Oh, no, I want to come back and do it. Of course you do. Got it. Right, and that's another one hooked in.
Well, I've just seen Mika Salo a couple of hours ago.
He's still here, is he?
Is he still standing?
He isn't any longer, but
no.
He was still here.
Yeah, because he said he was going, didn't he?
Yes,
yeah.
I mean, you know, after their car so unfortunately went out on Thursday, you know, I really didn't expect to see him again after the weekend, but no, he's sort of this race definitely hooks you in, and once you're here, you know, it's hard to let go.
It is very hard to let go, very hard indeed.
But let go I will.
Oh, are you? You're going to go home?
I have to go back and do some work.
Oh yes, because you've still got the green car going. All right, well listen, thank you very much indeed for coming up and joining us, Fiona Miller, and send the best to Andy as well. I know I'll see him next weekend actually in Zolder, so it'll be from one to the other, so say hi to Sam.
My pleasure, and thank you very much to everybody at Eurosport for all the coverage, and you know, I think it is so important to so many people back at home just to be able to keep in touch with what's happening.
Only do it because it's
thanks,
you.
Guys.
We do our best.
Yes.
Cheers, Fiona. Thank you very much indeed for that. And the Crane Racing Ricci Competition Ferrari is still going. And we'll say goodbye as well to Chris Parsons. He is heading off to hit the hay. So we wish you the very best of fortune for the Ricci Competizione Ferrari. Right, in which case, should we just very quickly get our head around what is going on? At the moment, Peugeot still... no, I'm not going to say that. They're not clinging to a lead. They lead here at Le Mans by a lap from Audi. Peugeot have the lead car number 2, Stéphane Sarrazin. In second place, that car, the Audi number 9 of Romain Dumas. He's just come out of the pits, which is why he's gone a full lap behind. Third place is an Audi. It's car number 8, Andre Lotterer. Fourth place is an Audi. It's car number 7, Tom Christensen, that was delayed earlier on when it was in third place, trying to go around the BMW art car of Andy Prio. Fifth place, finally we get to another Peugeot. That's car number 1 of Anthony Davidson, that was delayed with an electrical problem when it was in the race lead. And in sixth place, the third remaining Peugeot, Lloyd Duval, in the number 4 car. That's just come out of the garage after a long stop. Not quite sure what was up with Hugues de Schonak's car, and we don't have a pit reporter to go and ask, so either Neville or I'll have to take 10 minutes off to go downstairs to the Rabbit Hutch at Radio Le Mans and find out. We will do that in a moment for you during an ad break. I'll have a quick scamper down. 7th and 8th, you can tune in yourselves. RadioLeMans.com, although I didn't say so. 7th and 8th places are 007 and 009, Harold Primat and Juan Barazzi in the 2 Golf Lola Aston Martins. And while we're having a Lola moment, let's just name check Christopher Nygaard getting out. Peter Cox gets
in, yeah.
Yes, Peter Cox
yes, Cox.
Yeah, Cox and Enger have not wildly similar helmets, but I just wanted to make sure. Cox is getting into that car. It's 4th in GT1, and
that's come back because it did have a problem, didn't it, earlier on, quite early.
Not a GT1
yesterday.
car that hasn't actually.
Yeah. interestingly enough, Davidson, seemingly that car was not very happy. It seems to have recovered. Also, the number 4 car has had its treatment and seems to have recovered, because very briefly we had the Aston Martin up into 6th place. Very briefly.
Yes, it was very briefly, and I think Loic Duval has managed to take that back. The Lola Aston Martin of Harold Primac is only 2.8 seconds behind, and the reason for that is a pit stop, because it was Adrian Fernandez at the wheel of that car when Hugues de Schonak's car had its drama. So yes, Loic Duval back up into 6th. So top half dozen are still 3 Peugeots and 3 Audis, much as they were 6 hours ago.
And they're all pretty close, actually.
The only difference is that the 3 Audis are now 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and not 4th, 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
So it only takes one more hiccup in the remaining 11 hours and 47 minutes, and suddenly Peugeot, instead of romping, are chasing.
Yeah.
2 of the Peugeots, the two of the 3 that remain, are chasing already. The Audis have been chasing since the moment the race started, so for them it's situation normal. I think we're going to tell... All right, it's not going to be the world's greatest ever motor race, perhaps, by the end of it, but we are going to end up with a very entertaining race.
It's a bit of a race of attrition, isn't it? I mean, it's the sheer toughness, and that's a nasty word, I know, toughness of the Audis is still quite stunning. They've never been quite quick enough, but there's one thing they have been, and that's durable.
Well, you can, as has been proved a number of times in the past, you can often bounce an Audi off things without interrupting its flow in the race. Occasionally you do bounce them off hard enough that they do stop on you. Step forward, Mike Rockenfeller. But generally they tend to be fairly resilient. They are built very, very strong, because Audi understand very fully that this is a really, really, really hard thing to do. Drive a car flat out, and I don't mean quite quickly in a road car manner as you would drive your road car. I mean absolutely with every ounce of your fibre and every ounce that the car has got to give for 24 hours without ceasing. That is the devil's own job, and for Audi to win 1 or 2 races is a commendable result. To win 9 in the last decade is absolutely staggering.
Yeah, I think that it's the definition. I think I mentioned this earlier on. You can see, if you look at the pictures, that the curbs aren't always very high, but they're not all as low as just around here, just around going down through under the Dunlop Bridge or what have you. Go elsewhere, there's some quite high curbs. Now, if you lack a little bit of definition because it's dark and you happen to hit a curb a bit hard, okay, that happened once. But when it happens 9, 10, 12, 19, 23 times, and it happens that you aren't driving an Audi, that's when you get a problem.
Well,
you're well aware that...
What happens a lot is here, Nev, where you thump that curve, when you don't quite get on the brakes in time for the chicanes and you still turn in. It means that instead of going on the road, you actually go deeper into the corner and you go over the apex of the corner. And that's where the biggest curbs on the circuit are. And we saw quite plainly earlier in the race, one of the Rebellion cars being launched a couple of feet into the air. Now, if something's doing 100 miles an hour and you hit it hard enough to launch it 2 feet in the air, and that's what's happening when it hits the curb, because Newton says so, the curb hits back just as hard. It's being hit very hard indeed. If you can imagine lifting a ton of car 2 feet in the air, never mind the speed it's doing, then you know the sort of force involved. And yes, if you hit a curb, I mean, you can hit it 20 times without doing any damage. You can do it once and rip the floor out of the car. It just depends how you hit it. And of course, when you're turning in late, you're not judging how you hit it. That's all in the hands of the gods.
No, it's just one of the things that we were talking, and in fact I believe you were talking to Jackie Eakes in practice when Jackie was up here. One of the great things about Eakes was that his placement of the car was such that he didn't hit the curves. And if you look at the great long distance drivers, that's it, they don't damage the car, they take care of the car.
Well, particularly when Jackie started, cars were very frail things indeed. I mean, certainly compared to nowadays, and even at the highlight of his career, 956, 962s, they were the epitome of a reliable race car, but boy, you didn't want to be bouncing them off things very often. And even in those days, it was still a a race where you had to preserve the machinery. Now the machinery generally stands up to the caning it's given. By the way, the Porsche we just saw was third in the GT2 class. Mark Lieb handing over very swiftly, unless I'm mistaken, to Richard Leitz, as we watch Anthony Davidson continuing on his way in fourth place now, ahead of Tom Christensen, as those two continue to work their way back up the order. So that position is changing with pit stops. Davidson back ahead of Audi number 7, which was ahead of him just a minute or two ago, because Audis were second, third and fourth. They're now second, third and fifth. So that is seesawing with pit stops. They have both made 16 stops, Christensen 17. So there's a big difference between them. Lead pair, Stefan Sarrazin in Peugeot, Andre Lotterer in Audi, have made 15 each.